Okay, let's dive in. We've got quite a mix of sources for this deep dive today. We're pulling from Psalms, some really impactful words from the Gospel of Matthew, and also from Paul's second letter to the Corinthians.
Right. And what's fascinating is how they seem to sort of weave together around these key ideas. You've got righteousness, but like a really deep kind peace, reconciliation, that's a big one, and this thread of interchange may be linked to spiritual freedom.
Exactly. So our goal today really is to unpack what these texts are telling us about a righteousness that's, more than just ticking boxes. How does that kind of inner quality connect to peace, to actually mending relationships?
And what's the engine behind it? The spiritual element that makes this transformation even, well, possible.
Yeah. We want to see if these ancient writings offer some maybe surprising insights for how we navigate life and our relationships today. So let's maybe start with Matthew. Yeah. He throws down this challenge right near the start of the Sermon on the Mount that really stops you. Unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven.
Wow.
That's a high bar.
It really is. And you immediately think, exceeds. How? Weren't they the super righteous ones following every little rule?
Right. So what could he possibly mean?
Well, this is where the sources guide us. It seems it's not about more outward stuff, like being even more meticulous. The reflection we looked at puts it nicely. It's a righteousness that goes beyond outward actions and penetrates the heart.
Ah, okay. So it's internal, what's happening inside.
Exactly. The hidden things, motivations, thoughts, feelings that nobody else sees.
And Matthew gives these immediate, almost jarring examples, doesn't he? He takes, you shall not murder, which is clear enough.
Crystal clear.
But then he says, well, even being angry with your brother makes you liable to judgment. Or, insulting someone, calling them a fool.
Yeah, this is where it gets really challenging. The sources suggest that these internal states, like that simmering anger or contempt, dismissing someone's worth, they're treated with incredible seriousness, almost sort of the same spiritual weight as the outward act itself.
So it forces you to look inward straight away.
Absolutely. It's not just don't physically harm someone. It's, deal with that root of anger and contempt in your heart, because that matters deeply too.
That makes sense. That reflection on Psalm 139 really hammers this home too, right? Saying true holiness means actively rooting out anger, resentment, and contempt.
Precisely. It's about cleaning up the source, that internal landscape, not just managing the external behavior.
Okay. So righteousness starts deep inside. How does that connect to peace? Psalm 85 paints this amazing picture. Mercy and faithfulness will meet. Righteousness and peace will kiss each other. What is that telling us?
Well, it's such beautiful imagery, isn't it? It suggests they're not just like related ideas, they're intimately connected. Partners, almost.
Like they can't exist without each other.
Kind of, yeah. They embrace. Where you find genuine righteousness, peace is naturally drawn there. It's a picture of wholeness, of harmony that flows from right living.
And reconciliation seems to be a really practical result of this. This kiss, maybe. One source calls reconciliation a powerful act of love that reflects the peace God wants.
Absolutely. If righteousness means being in right relationship with God, with others, then peace is that state of flourishing within those right relationships.
And reconciliation.
That's the active work. The repair job needed when those relationships get broken or strained. It's how you restore the peace.
And Matthew connects these righteousness, peace, reconciliation with this, shocking urgency. He talks about bringing your gift to the altar, a major religious act.
Very important.
But then says, if you suddenly remember your brother has something against you, you leave the gift right there.
Yeah.
And go first be reconciled, then come back and offer the gift.
Yeah, and that just flips everything, doesn't it? Our usual priorities, religious duty, something commanded, suddenly takes a back seat to fixing a broken human connection.
The relationship comes first.
It's presented as more important, more urgent even than the ritual. That's profound when you think about it.
And he doesn't stop there. He gives this really practical, almost stark advice right after, doesn't he? About making friends quickly with your accuser on the way to court.
Right, verses 25 and 26.
Warning, you'll end up in prison, unable to pay the last penny if you don't sort it out.
Yeah, it's almost like a legal warning. Used to show just how serious unresolved conflict is in the real world. It's not just some abstract spiritual idea. Letting bitterness fester has real, tangible, sometimes awful costs.
So deal with it quickly. It's practical wisdom.
Exactly. And then bringing it back inside, that Psalm 139 reflection connects this outward effort seeking peace. seeking forgiveness back to our own growth.
Right.
It says when we pursue healing and forgiveness with others, we grow in holiness and draw closer to God.
So it's not just for the other person.
No, it's a path for our own sort of inner cleansing, our own spiritual development. Tackling reconciliation actually helps cultivate those heart-level things we talked about: humility, letting go of anger.
Valuing the other person. Okay. Wow, this sounds demanding. I mean, constantly checking your heart, actively going out to mend relationships, even when it's awkward or painful.
It is demanding, no question.
So where does the power, the ability to do this even come from, this exceeding righteousness? 2 Corinthians seems to give us a clue here.
It does. It talks about this veil over people's minds, right? Stopping them from really seeing or getting it. But then it says, crucially, when a man turns to the Lord, the veil is removed.
And then that incredible line, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. How does that freedom connect to doing all this hard stuff, the righteousness, the reconciliation?
Well, the insight seems to be that this isn't just about trying harder, sheer willpower or some self-help trick. This kind of radical inner shift, being able to see clearly, value others over pride, actually pursue reconciliation. It flows from somewhere deeper.
From the Spirit.
Yes. The Spirit brings a freedom from those internal blocks, the blindness, the self-focus that keep that veil in place, the things that stop us living righteously and peacefully.
Okay. And there's that description of how it happens too in 2 Corinthians 3:1. With unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being changed into his likeness.
From one degree of glory to another, for this comes from the Lord who is the Spirit.
Yeah.
That's the engine, the dynamic. It's an ongoing process.
Fueled by looking outward, towards the divine.
Exactly. As you focus there, you're changed. Progressively, almost organically from the inside out, becoming more like what you're looking at. It's not really self-improvement. It's more like Spirit-led transformation.
And chapter 4 adds that bit about God shining the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in our hearts.
Yeah.
To overcome the blindness from the God of this world.
Right, which just reinforces that this ability to see, to change, it's initiated by God. A light shines into the darkness or the fog. That light makes the seeing possible, and then the changing follows.
So we don't just conjure it up ourselves.
The sources suggest not. It's more like a response to a divine unveiling, an illumination. And maybe that connects back to Psalm 85 too, that sense of surely his salvation is at hand. There's divine help available.
Okay, so if we pull all this together, this call for righteousness deep in the heart, the absolute priority placed on peace through reconciliation, and then this promise that it's actually possible through the Spirit's freedom and light.
Yeah.
This isn't just theory, is it?
Not at all. It's a direct challenge to how we actually live, how we relate to people every day.
And those prayer points from the Psalm 139 reflection seem like a really practical response. Asking for a pure heart free from anger and pride. Asking for courage, for reconciliation. Sincerity.
Yeah, they're not just nice thoughts. They're aspirations grounded in everything we've been talking about. Things to actively, pursue.
And it doesn't stop there. The reflection asks you, the listener, directly, who is someone you need to reconcile with today?
Oof, yeah.
And what first step could you take toward healing that relationship?
That question really brings it all home, doesn't it? It grounds all these big spiritual ideas in one concrete, actionable step. How does this land in your life right now?
And maybe just thinking about that line in Psalm 85 about our land will yield its increase. Maybe this inner work, this relational mending has ripples, effects beyond just us and the person we reconcile with.
The sources definitely seem to hint at that this internal and relational work contributes to a wider flourishing, like the land finally producing its harvest. It starts in the heart, moves to the relationship, but could potentially impact the whole community, the whole land.
So thinking about all this, the deep righteousness, the urgent call for reconciliation, the promise of freedom and change through the Spirit. It all seems to boil down to maybe taking that first step, however hard it feels.
That first step.
Yeah. So maybe the question to leave you with is this. What did it actually look like to take that first step towards someone? Especially knowing, based on these sources, that it's not just about fixing things between you two, but it's also about cultivating something deeper inside yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe even inviting this divine light and transformation into the whole situation. What unexpected fruit might that single step yield?